Hello and welcome to our Shenmue the animation after show. This is probably something we've never done before, but we wanted to talk about the animation. So I'll be hosting this episode review or recap or whatever after show thing you want to call it. And I'm George, and with me is Barry.
There we go. Now it feels official.
Yeah. I was like, how am I gonna sneak it in? So I'm like,
I know. It's so weird doing like a new thing together. We always do Sega Talk,
yeah,
Swing and Report Show. We know how to start those, but like I think what you need to do is do the Goro. Hey, dude. Something
yes,
like that.
Exactly. So this is the first episode of the anime. I think only the Japanese version of this is out, right? Because I've seen it in Japanese.
So Crunchyroll has it in Japanese and Adult Swim has it in English, and you cannot switch the language option on either one. So little screwy, but that's how they're doing it.
So did you watch? So what language did you watch this in?
The only true language that exists, Japanese.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it in Japanese too. I think it might be in the recording of this episode. I don't think the English one is out because I looked for it just to see what it would be the difference. But there's so little dialogue in it. A lot of the characterizations in this episode are like a few lines here and there. So I just wanted to know, what was your overall impressions of the first episode starting off an anime?
I was impressed. I mean, I saw it a day after most people had seen it, I guess live during the premiere. And so I was seeing a lot of impressions and a lot of really positive comments, but it's kind of hard to trust that because there is a very vocal fan base for Shenmue, and sometimes something like Shenmue 3 will release and they'll go, this game's awesome. And then you play it and you're like, oh man, I'm eating a lot of garlic. I'm running around a lot. The fighting's weird. But with this, I think it definitely lived up to the expectations that were set by what I was seeing online. I was surprised by how much new content we got, which leads me to believe that these are deleted scenarios that Yu Suzuki had thought up. I was also surprised by how it nails the tone of the games, but it also brings something completely different. And I'm sure we'll get into that as we talk a little bit more about the episode. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I liked it too. I think, like you said, it's so weird because it was so true to what the story is for the games. They did scenarios that were like literally callbacks. The house is literally like, just looking at the anime, they copied the house exactly like the video game.
Right. Right.
There was a few changes where, like, obviously some of the scenarios were just added in the beginning to give you a feel of who Ryu is before the big scene happens. Besides in the game, it happens at the beginning.
Right. Well, he smiles. He's like a happy kid,
and
which is so surprising.
Yep, and that's actually one of the scenes, pictures I have here that we're going to talk about. So let's talk about the beginning of this episode. Yeah. Right away, it starts off sort of how the video game does, but instead of the scene with just Shenhua like in the sunset, it's instead actually the ending for Shenmue 2. So we begin the anime the way it ends for us. I mean, if when 2 ended. So what do you think about that? Do you think that was a good intro, or you think it was just trying to pull fans in?
No, I liked it. I thought it was smart. What I like about this anime is that it's telling the story, but it's telling it from the beginning with the knowledge of what happens in Shenmue 2 and even Shenmue 3, because you do see a little bit of a Shenmue 3 reference in the beginning when you see the village nearby Shenhua, which is I think really cool, and I wish more fiction would do something like this. I've long said, not on any podcast we've done, but like to friends of mine and stuff, like they should do a Harry Potter anime, because they were making that as the books were coming out, and it would have been really cool to see the story told again from the beginning with the knowledge of what happens in the end. And with Shenmue, we don't have the ending yet, but we definitely have 3 games out, which is much more than what we had when Shenmue 1 had come out. I mean, So I really like that. I was also going to say too, I'm not a big anime guy, but I feel like this feels much more grounded than most anime that exists. I know like realistic, real world anime is kind of a what would you call it? Like a genre, but it's typically in the modern settings, the modern era,
And
like a soccer team or like a single mom, and it's usually like a Ghibli movie or like I said, like a sports focused one. This surprised me. I don't think many anime exists like this. And also, when Shenmue came out, it was what year does the story take place? 1986.
I think it's 86 or like 80. It's 80 something. Yeah.
Right. And when Shenmue the game came out, it was 99, so it was not that long ago. Now it almost feels like a retro nostalgia throwback, like Stranger Things, because it's a story set in the 80s but animated in 2021, 2022. So there's a lot of even if you remove the whole video game adaptation aspect, there's a lot of things here that I feel is very unique to Shenmue that you don't see in many anime.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And the next scene I have here is they show right away more of Ryu, like he's actually waking up, because in the game right away it's the disaster scene, right? The iconic scene with Lan Di. Here we actually have him waking up, going to a high school tournament. We have a scene with Fuku-san and what's her name, the aunt. It's escaping me right now.
Oh, you shouldn't have brought that up because now I'll forget. No, I don't know.
And it's also his dad was in this scene, and they have the koi pond that's like pretty iconic to me, because that blew my mind when I played the first Shenmue game. So I'm like, oh, they have it in the anime.
Ine-san, and she is the live-in housekeeper. She is not related to them.
No, they're not related. But I kind of see her as a grandma figure in this. But she, I mean, so they showed his dad, and here he's kind of just like a strict dad, like no emotion. And he's like, got to do better, basically, or it's not good enough. It's the first line he says when he talks about his high school tournament that he's going to.
Right.
So, what do you think about this scene that they added in before the whole thing?
I liked it. You know, I can't imagine it. Well, you know what? I could imagine it being like in the game, like just a little short fighting scene, like a tutorial. Mm-hmm. I liked that some of the unique characters to it kind of fit in with the little over-the-top nature that some secondary characters have in the games. And so I thought that was cool. I thought the teacher was fun. I thought the students, his friends, were funny.
Yeah,
so yeah, especially the ones he fought.
Yeah, this is gonna be the next. This next scene is Shinwa, when she they have the goat thing, but we talked about it because it's in 3. But the tournament with the teacher and everything, Ryu is basically like kind of the alpha Chad, I guess. He's the schoolboy, but he wins the tournament right away. So this scene is trying to like play up that scene that like Ryu is like the best in his class. So did they need to? Did they? Like in the game, they had it through dialogue, I guess, a little bit, but they didn't really talk about it. I actually really like this scene, the high school scene, like you said. I like his friends, which leads me to the next one. What do you think about that one scene in the end when they're like, when the teacher's like, don't have alcohol, and then Ryu's like, I gotta go home because they're gonna make me a good meal. It's like playing up his schoolboy innocence of him, you know, like in the game.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's why this little scene was there, but yeah. We got Tom. What do you think about Tom in this one? I know we have another scene later where it's basically from the game, but when he's going home and they first show Tom, you know, what do you think about Tom in here? Same.
I think he's all right. I kind of wish he was a little more over the top and dropped more like casual American English. I mean, it might be coming up like a little showing more of his friendship with Rio. I'm hoping it's not like that's the extent of Tom, or like this is the most we're going to see him. I doubt it though. But he was true to the game for sure.
Oh, and then this is the first time we see Nozomi when he's going home, which is kind of weird because they add these scenes back to back, right? Where it's like, we're going to go party. No, I'm going to go home. And then he like meets Tom, right? And then all of a sudden he comes here and Nozomi's getting bullied. It's like they're trying to put the character up front right away for the viewer. I think they did it fine when you watch the anime, but when you break it down, you're like, wow, that's a lot of things that happened before you got home and your dad died on your birthday.
Right.
Yeah. So this one is Nozomi, who has a different look. This scene was actually like in a way in the game. This is a QTE scene, one of the first ones. And Nozomi looks different here. She has her, I guess, I put it on Twitter, but her concept art look. So they changed her up.
Right.
My opinion is because I think Nozomi and Shenmue maybe look too much alike. And I think in concept art, Nozomi, I think, was always supposed to be half American. And that's why she goes to Canada randomly in the game.
Right.
And I have a screenshot here of the anime design and the concept art design. But you saw it on Twitter, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What do you think about this design change?
I don't mind it. I mean, to be quite honest, like if they went full on following the concept art style for the animation, it would have been even cooler. But I like that they're using the concept art as a basis. I also like that you see different costumes. I think she was like in a Sailor Moon sort of like schoolgirl costume.
Yeah.
Before putting on her, I guess her weekend wear of the sweater and skirt. But Nozomi's never been a favorite character of mine, but I do like that they changed her up just a bit so that she stands out and doesn't look like half the other characters in the game. Or in the anime, I should say.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And then we have the iconic scene from the video game where it opens up with Landique killing his father, but in this one, he's like more direct, I think. I mean, did you notice that? Where he was like, you literally killed this person instead of like it being anonymous. Like you have to like search for it and the clues. They just straight up tell you that it happened.
I think we're going to see that a lot more in this anime. I think we're going to see information dropped like that instead of Rio going, who is the man he mentioned? You know, just to kind of streamline the story. And that's cool. That's fine. That's cool. I mean, why would Landy be secretive about this information?
Of course, I agree with you 100%. You know? It makes 100% sense. This scene was basically almost like the video game. I think the video game one did it a little bit better because they let the scenes breathe out a little bit, more like Hollywood style. And this one, they like did a lot of quick cuts because you could tell they're trying to go through the story. Right after this, basically, I think Ryu, there's a scene where he basically says, I want to know why these people killed him right away in the start. In the game, he's more like secretive, he's shy, he doesn't really talk about his emotions to anyone. In this one, he like just tells Ini-san and Fuku-san right away, I'm gonna find out who did this. In the other one, you're more secretive and you don't really say anything. So this is a change in the anime, and it makes sense because in the game they wanted you to basically explore the house, figure out the controls. This is just an anime, you don't get that. So I actually kind of like this right away. Like, let's start the story. There was Ryu having flashbacks after this, which were pretty not in the game, so all new flashbacks, totally different. This was cool to see because I kind of like this in the first game. I think you do too, the carrots.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah.
And here we have the biggest change, and I think this is Nozomi's and Ryu's relationship, is when they see each other again. Ryu actually laughs at Nozomi stomach growling because she says if he wants to eat. And this is kind of different. This really changes up both characters because in the game they don't really tell each other they like each other that much, and they do. It's very cryptic. Here, she's the one that approaches him to go out, and he actually has an emotion that's not, oh, okay, I see.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So what do you think about this change in the anime? Because I liked it.
I liked it too. I think Rio's characterization is pretty close to the games, but yeah, he gets to the point a lot faster, which again makes sense because there are those scenes where he finally like makes that decision and says something, but it comes about through dialogue trees, missions. My question is like in future episodes, are we going to see him doing some of the mini games? Because I would be shocked if we go the entire series and they never do him like playing pool or doing a capsule toy, you know? I mean, it would be weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't know yet. It would be interesting. I've seen some screenshots. So there's like actual screenshots of like There was the motorcycle scene, the iconic scene.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's going to be in it, obviously. But yeah, I wonder too. But I like this too. I kind of wish it was more like this in the game, where you actually develop a relationship with Nozomi and you actually talk. So when she leaves, you actually miss her instead of a character that maybe you were going to date, but you never really had any real emotional connection to. So yeah.
Right. Well, that all comes about though through the gameplay. Like, if you talk to Nozomi more and grow an attachment to her yourself, then it hits harder when she leaves. But if you don't, then the game still makes it seem like that's an impactful moment. But if the player didn't experience it, then, I mean, Shenmue was only as
Interactive
great
as
a
you
game
want.
as exactly, because it wasn't to the level where it's like, oh, you didn't interact with Nozomi a lot. Here's the ending B where she's just like, I didn't really like you. Bye.
Yeah. They give you literally a scene from the video game when Tom says that they splashed him with mud, and basically it's your first clue in the video game, and they played homage to it right here, even though they didn't really need to, because it wasn't the real info dump. They give you the info dump in the next scene, which was kind of weird. You're like in the restaurant.
Right.
They're in the restaurant eating, and this guy just goes, "Oh, hey, I overheard you guys. Let me talk to you guys about the Chinese mafia." And I was like, "Wait, what?" That was kind of a weird introduction to the Chinese.
That was
mafia.
weird.
Yeah. That was probably the weakest point. Like, how do they introduce the plot? It's like some random dude in the restaurant. I wonder if he's going to be a character where it's like, I don't know, maybe he's something else or something. I don't know what he has to do with the plot, but some random dude in a restaurant.
That would be great if he's in every episode.
And then we have our first fight right in the end of the episode. They did the, what's his name? Chi or Chai? Chai, right?
I call him Chai. Yeah.
Yeah. The golem, he so in the video game, he shows up in U Arcade. And he fights you there. This one, he's looking for obviously the mirror, and he fights you in your dojo, which kind of makes more sense if you know where the actual mirror is. It's in the dojo. Now that I don't think he knew, but he fights you there, and it gives you the whole first. I guess Ryu overcoming his first obstacle since he lost against Lan Di. He beats Chai in the first episode. They could have maybe held it off a little bit or whatever, but. I guess it was a cool fight. It was very simple. It made sense if you watch the rest of the episode. It's almost like it's his little comeback from Lan Di. I thought it was a pretty cool ending to the episode. And that's when and then in the end, he basically says that he's made up his mind and he's going to find who did it. And then he gets his letter, that letter from part 2 that he goes to China for. From what's his name, Lao Zhao or Hanzhou Zhao or something like that. He gets his letter in the end of the episode, and that's kind of the ending for the first. So I think that's a pretty good intro to Shenmue, I guess, because it hits all the points already right in the first episode, and we have the plot.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah. And then there's that wicked ending with the animation and the pop song.
The outro.
Over the credits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the outro.
That was sexy.
I'm surprised there's no intro, like an anime intro like that, because they usually have an intro like sort of like that, where it's like pop, music.
Maybe the second episode will premiere it, because sometimes they'll do that with these shows, you don't get the true intro until the second episode, and they'll give us because I don't remember seeing a big Shenmue logo on screen. Maybe I'm wrong.
The first thing they showed though in the first episode was Yuzuzuki, YSNet or whatever he calls it, and Sega, which was pretty good to see.
That's true. And I did want to bring up Shenmue Project. Have you ever heard of that term before? It was all over the anime during credits.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it said Sega/Shenmue Project. So I have to wonder, and then TMS Entertainment. So I have to wonder if that's either an internal, I wouldn't say team, but an internal initiative to utilize the Shenmue brand more, just like how I guess they'd have like Project Sonic or Sonic Project,
Yeah.
Because I'd have to imagine that's coming from Sega and not YSNet Yu Suzuki. I know he's involved on some level, but it makes me think that this is going to largely be Sega utilizing the IP for the anime. You know, I don't know. It's interesting. I want to learn more about what that is, because it makes me question, like, is this something that came about from Yu Suzuki's team with Shenmue 3 trying to, you know, drum up support for 4, or would this have happened even if Shenmue 3 wasn't a thing? You know, I don't know. It's interesting that it came about. So, yeah. But I don't really have much more to say about it, except that I'm impressed and I'm looking forward to more. How about you?
Same thing here. And that's it. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. We watch episode 2 next week. Bye.
Bye.